Osaka is probably most known for Dotonburi, a fun district that really comes alive at night. It's got bright lights, fun neon signs, and tons of street stalls, restaurants, and bars, so you can literally eat until you go bankrupt. Osaka is known as Japan's kitchen, and here you can try every local specialty that the city has to offer, from okonomiyaki pancakes to takoyaki octopus balls to kushikatsu, deep-fried skewers of meat and veggies. We walked around, people watching and snacking, and all the crazy billboards and hordes of people really reminded me of Times Square. My favorite thing to get here is Strawberry Mania. This cute stall sells all snacks strawberry themed, like tonghulu and strawberry dusted popcorn, but they're most known for their daifuku and soft serve. We got a couple daifuku to go and immediately devoured 2 cones of soft serve. It was so good, a little different than American ice cream. It's not as overly sugary or overly sweet. I love the way that Japan does dairy. Somehow I never have stomach issues. I would totally fly back to Japan just to have this again. I couldn't deal too much with the crowd, so after a little bit we headed back north to Umeda where we were staying. We were still a little hungry, so we went for a late night snack. Kura Sushi is a classic conveyor belt sushi spot, and the best thing about them is they have locations all over Japan and they're open late.
Corn mayo? Yes, corn and mayo.
This is my first time having conveyor belt sushi, so my friend walked me through the process and I found everything about it so entertaining. You can either pick things off the conveyor belt as they meander around each booth, or you can order off the iPad. I've always heard that sushi in Japan is different, and it did not disappoint. They had some really fun, new-to-me sushi options that I had never heard of, like natto sushi, corn mayo, yuzu marinated squid, pork with cheese, just to name a few. We made our selects in the iPad and then waited for the sushi to arrive. There's actually 2 conveyor belts. The bottom row is free-for-all sushi that you can grab right off the belt, and the top row is where the pieces that you ordered arrived, with a little bell ding to let you know that it's yours. First up, tuna and pickled daikon, and then some classic fatty tuna. I love Japanese and Korean style pickled veggies, so this style of sushi is my favorite.
I think it's matcha. Is it powder? No. Is it matcha? Hot water here?
For tea? Oh, is it literally powdered green tea?
That's what I'm thinking of, powdered green tea. Were you eating powdered green tea?
It's always a treat having proper wasabi in Japan. We only get the imitation horseradish back home, which isn't nearly as strong. And then at the end, you stack up your plates and shoot them down the chute. Depending on how much you ordered, you get little tickets to play the gacha machines on top of each booth. When we went to pay, I couldn't believe how cheap that sushi was. I think we spent $3.50 each. It definitely wasn't the highest quality sushi, but if you're hungry and on a budget, Kura was a very, very fun experience. And then back at the hotel, we ended the night at the baths and had our sweet treat. The daifuku were really good. Each strawberry was super fresh. The next morning, we headed to Hanshin department store to browse their food hall. Lots of Japanese department stores have a basement floor or 2 of specialty snack shops, grocery stores, and food restaurants, but Hanshin is on another level. I had such a fun time browsing all their food options. This snack stall caught our eye right when we walked in. My cousin loves taiyaki, so we had to try their version. These are shaped like little round coins, and they put a generous amount of filling in between each pancake. The dark red paste was azuki, and the pale paste was common bean. We got one of each so we could try both flavors. Right next door, there was a specialty grocery store with some really fun condiments. This shiso oil looked so vibrant green that I was tempted to get it, but I didn't know what I'd use it for. I also saw this pretty packet of red bean paste, perfect for making your own taiyaki at home. Hanshin also had an ippudo stall. You can order drinks or pick up some matcha to go. The price is so much more affordable, and in the 2 weeks since I've been back home, I already finished this can. Next, we went off to find coffee and a place to sit and eat our pastries. Toshiro is a specialty coffee shop known for their freshly roasted beans. We each got a cup of pour over to try, 1 dark roast and 1 light, and they make it fresh right in front of you. Both were good but strong. Pastries were really good too, not too sweet, and still warm from the grill. Surprisingly, we both liked the common bean more than the red bean. While we were eating, we kept seeing a huge crowd of locals at the stall next door. Yamaroku Shoyu was having an event pop-up, and I think Hanshin often does food pop-ups. I couldn't resist picking up some of the cute mini bottles. Yamaroku Shoyu is one of the only brewers in Japan that still hand builds his own barrels. Japanese soy sauce is pretty different from Chinese soy sauce. It's often aged for several years. They don't have like a dark versus light. If you've ever had Taiwanese soy sauce, they're a bit similar. They also had little signs designating the different flavor profiles and uses for each type of soy sauce. I ended up getting one meant for sushi, another for hot pot, and a light one meant for flavoring dashi. I also picked up a dessert soy sauce to try that they recommended adding to ice cream. Hanshin had a promotion where you could mix and match different soy sauce bottles to make a set, so we spent a good chunk of the afternoon here. All that shopping whipped up an appetite. Watanabe Curry is a famous curry shop in Osaka. It's been recognized by Michelin with a Bib Gourmand Award, and it's known for its unique twist on traditional Japanese curry. The chef adds Sri Lankan spices to his curry sauce. I couldn't decide between the dry noodles or the classic curry, and ultimately went with their premium steak cutlet. Each cutlet was made to order. It was deep fried right in front of me. The batter was super crunchy and crispy, and the steak came out medium rare and very juicy. I love that they gave extra sauce on the side. We stayed at the Villa Fontaine in Osaka. The location is great, a quick 7-minute walk to Umeda Station, and the room was pretty spacious, especially for Japanese standards. There is a little open sink area and a mini fridge which they stocked with free water every day, as well as a separate shower and bidet. By the entrance, they also had a cubby where you could store your luggage. Then there was a little seating area and a double bed situation. I have to say the pillows in Japan take a lot of getting used to, but overall I really liked the hotel. They also include breakfast, and they have on-site public baths and a sauna. For dinner, we were craving sushi again. We found this spot nearby in an Umeda office building. It was filled with locals at dinner time and had good reviews. They had tons of different sushi and tempura options. We went with a couple of their sushi sets. All the fish came served so unexpectedly pretty. It was really good, definitely very high quality sushi that just kind of melted in your mouth.
Yeah.
I always love fatty tuna, so I got the fatty tuna trio to start, and then a tuna and pickled daikon roll. It came with some sort of pretty silver flake situation on top. We ended the night once again with some convenience store dessert and a trip to the public baths. I really loved having access to the baths and sauna right within the hotel. They give you PJs to wear down to the baths, and then another set for the hot stone room. Late at night, there was no one else there, and a long hot soak was so relaxing. I've always wanted to try a traditional Japanese breakfast, and we were able to have it right at the hotel. They had all the classic components: miso soup, pickled vegetables, and of course grilled fish. There were 3 fish options to choose from at breakfast: sea bream, mackerel, and salmon. Fish for breakfast isn't my usual, but it actually tasted really good. My favorites were the udon noodles and the thinly sliced beef, and I also was really glad to see that they had warabi mochi. It's this chewy dessert dusted with toasted soybean flour and finished off with a brown sugar syrup. For our last full day in Osaka, we wanted to do some shopping. We started off in Osaka's kitchen district, where they have a more compact version of kappabashi. Lots of shops with really beautiful ceramics, lacquerware, and chopsticks, as well as kitchen tools. We then walked over to Orange Street. There's a lot of vintage shops in this neighborhood, lots of lifestyle stores, cafes, and streetwear boutiques, but a lot of it was men's clothing, so I didn't really find much. I took a break to try Japanese pancakes. These were really cute and jiggly and kind of fun to eat. And then we hit up a couple department stores. There are so many around Umeda Station, at least 5 or 6. They carry everything. You could spend days browsing here. I loved checking out all the tableware. They had traditional Japanese pots and plates, but also Japan-only lines from global brands like Le Creuset. I really liked this fish braiser. For dinner, we went back to Osaka Station. We had passed through this maze-like section of restaurants the night before, and it was packed with local businessmen after work. There's like 100 different tiny bars and restaurants, each that are cubbyhole small, and you hear the rumble of the trains. All the men were smoking. It was super lively, very popular at dinner time. Every restaurant seemed to specialize in different things. There's an okonomiyaki spot, sushi, udon, so you can bop around and try a whole bunch of different spots. It was such a fun vibe.